throwing huge money around free agency was to have a team that can win now while Stearns has the years he needs to build up the infrastructure where you're hoping a large percentage of the team is homegrown talent and then you go sign your needs in free agency. Now, the problem is that process has been a little delayed, but also, let's be fair here. The weird thing about this one is there has been times where this has worked. I mean, think going back to the first Buck year, Starling Marte was an awesome example of this. I mean, we go back and talk about when Marte got hurt, it kind of was the doom of that Mets season. So you can't do the whole thing of, now, big picture, does this strategy not paying off? There's an argument to be had here. I mean, if Bo Bichette is still struggling in June, then there's going to be a combo about that. The problem is, too, though, you look the other way, and maybe this is a different player because of his caliber, and he wasn't a short-term contract. Juan Soto had, one bad month, and then was in the MVP race for a really long time.
Right.
But if you have a stretch of Polanco doesn't perform, Bichette doesn't perform, combined with some misses of this in the past, this is going to be an interesting combo of that this just doesn't work. But what other solutions do you have if the rest of the team isn't good enough and isn't ready to be brought up from the minor leagues to compete? So it's like, how do you kill them for trying? Do you want them to did you want MJ Melendez to just be starting in the outfield out of the gate and an infield of Mark Vientos at first, Brett Beatty at third, and Ronnie Mauricio at second? I mean, I'm just trying to be fair here, Joe. Would fans have been happy if the Mets went into the year with that?
I wonder, is it like
they would have exploded?
Did they want the Mets to sign Bo for 5 years or 6 years instead of this short term with opt-outs deal? And then right now they'd be saying, Bo Bichette has a 570 OPS and I have this for 5 more years. I have to deal with this. So I don't know where. I think it's a very valid question by all three of these folks that wrote in.
It's a great question.
Because we've talked about it on this show. Francisco Lindor had the rough first year. Carlos Beltran had the rough first year. And now he's going to Cooperstown with a Mets hat on. And who knows, maybe he's the Mets manager next week or next year or at some point in time. Like we don't know what's going to happen there. But as far as the vision here, I think the vision is quite clear. And we can agree with it or disagree with it. I think that's up to each person's opinion. The vision is win right now by giving out big money deals and trying to reduce the length of time so that way there's always flexibility on the Mets side that if a young player does emerge that is ready to take the reins at a position, you can put that person in and it's not, well, we got 7 years of Cody Bellinger in center field, so we can't call up AJ Ewing to fill that role.
Right.
So it's a tough balance. In general, I know it's not working, so this is not going to sound great, but in general, I like the theory. I think it's smart to protect yourself and avoid term on contracts as much as long-term commitment, whether that is through homegrown, developing your own, bring them up and they're under organizational control for 6 years, or it's signing a top free agent like Juan Soto for 15 years, like Francisco Lindor. I know it's a trade, but you gave him the 10-year contract. Fans can invest in these guys. And I think that's a big thing for the fans right now is they were invested in Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil to a degree. I think a lot of people were kind of done with him, but to a degree.
Yeah.
They were invested in Edwin Diaz. Now all these guys go. You bring in these, quote, mercenaries to take from one of the questions, and it's not better, it's worse. Like fans they're already not invested in these guys because they're not here for term. They're now going to potentially lose investment in the Mets, watching the Mets because they're playing bad with guys that they don't particularly care about. So that's a very long way of saying, I think the Mets, in my opinion, do have the right process in place, but process doesn't matter if the results are bad. Like it's the right concept, but the results have to follow. And for getting close to a calendar year now, the results have been not just poor, one of the worst
really
in baseball.
Bad.
And that falls on everybody there. So David Stearns made the decisions he did. I credit him for having the guts to do it because it would be so much easier for him to just have just give Pete the 5 years. We'll DH him the second half, and we'll deal with it. Don't get rid of Brandon Nimmo, despite some real thought that contract is going to go sideways sooner rather than later. Keep it, Edwin Diaz. Give him whatever you have to keep him. And the fans are happy. Would the Mets be winning?
But we stink again.
Yeah. But we stink again. But the fans would at least love the players. So I give him credit for stepping out. Unfortunately, where we are right now, it seems like it was a miss.